Well, I said it was December Madness, and the madness has started, and we are into Game Week 14 already. We had another absolutely incredible bunch of matches and points and everything like that. Did it go well for me? Did it not? You will find out. But should we just jump straight into it? Should we jump straight into the matches that we just had Tuesday to Thursday? And let's see where we went. So we started off on the wrong screen. We started off with Bournemouth playing against Everton. Everton getting a 1-0 win over Bournemouth. Really well done from Everton, actually, on that. Bournemouth are a solid team, solid outfit. And, Everton snuck in a win. And we had Manchester City versus Fulham. Okay, Haaland got his 100th goal, but again, Manchester City leaking goals. 4 goals they conceded. A little bit concerning for anyone that's got defenders or goalkeepers in Manchester City that of what is going on. But I mean, they're fun matches to watch, obviously. But yeah, a bit of an interesting one on that for Manchester City. Then we go to Newcastle United versus Tottenham Hotspur. Newcastle storming into a 2-0 win. It ended up being 2-2. So, great performances from both of them in very much the game of two halves. Newcastle were great in the first half, Tottenham were great in the second half. Really fascinating matches in terms of that. We then jumped into Wednesday. This became an interesting tussle as well. So Arsenal, champions performance against Brentford. They weren't great, if I'm being honest, but did a really good performance, a really good result at the very least against Brentford. Brentford held their own, and Arsenal just got the job done. Then we had the nuts match, which was Brighton Hove Albion versus Aston Villa. Brighton had a 2-0 lead. Then Aston Villa stormed into a 4-2 lead. And then Brighton Hove Albion made it interesting at the end. We ended up with 3-4 in that match. So, again, teams that are struggling to be good defensively. Interesting. And we had Burnley versus Crystal Palace. Burnley were really good, actually, in their loss. Crystal Palace getting that goal, getting the job done. Daniel Munoz as well. Fantastic there. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Nottingham Forest. Wolves did all right. I've got to be honest. Nottingham Forest got that goal in the end. There was a disallowed goal as well. But yeah, almost an underdog performance from Wolves. And speaking of underdogs, you see the next one. Leeds United beating Chelsea 3-1. Chelsea were embarrassing. Leeds United just basically dominated the game. Started off being 2-0. Chelsea got a goal back, but then gifted a goal to Leeds United. And then Liverpool versus Sunderland. Sunderland getting a goal deflected to start off with, and then Liverpool getting a goal back deflected. And ended up being 1-1. Maybe I'm downplaying this as a Liverpool fan. I'm not too disappointed with the result, given the way that Sunderland have been. I think it's fair. So yeah, good on both teams. There's some things obviously to sort out for Liverpool still, but okay, we can live with that. And then we came on to Thursday. Final match of it was Manchester United versus West Ham United. It was a draw. Man United fans are not happy with Man United's performance. West Ham did all right. But yeah, it's more of a case of Manchester United didn't kill the game off really more than anything else. And we ended up with that result. So, where did that leave us? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the scores. We had one incredible week, 70 points. We got the clean sheet for Matt Sells. That was brilliant. Pedro Porro, okay, he didn't do that great. The conceding of the goal, he lost a point as a result of that. Gusto played 45 minutes. Looks like he didn't get a clean sheet from that, so maybe he conceded one at that point. So at least he got 1 point from that. Isidore didn't get much, although could have scored in the match. Truffer, as much as he didn't get the clean sheet, he was a rock in defence. Matty Cash, similar sort of thing, although he got an assist. That was the big thing for him, that getting an assist still got him some valuable points. Putting in Rangers worked out a treat for us. He got a goal. He got a lot of minutes on the board. Same with Wirtz. He got a bonus. He was electric against Sunderland on the Wednesday. And he got an assist. Should it have been a goal? Up for debate. Saka getting a goal as well, although substitute appearance, considering he only played 29 minutes, getting 6 points, really good stuff from Saka. That was impressive. Jarrod Bowen getting 5 points, getting the assist against Manchester United. That was good on him. Haaland, wow, 14 points. That jumped up to 28. The only thing that's the regret is that Harry Wilson got 8 points as well. That would have been quite nice to have in the midfield. But hey ho, it happens. It just happens like that. So, time to look ahead, as we normally do. Let's jump straight into the matches, and we have ourselves a 12:30 game: Aston Villa versus Arsenal. The team that is struggling to do a defensive job against a team that is brilliant in defence. This is at Villa Park. This is at Aston Villa's ground, but I do see Arsenal getting a win. I mean, they've just been a champion's performance. So I do think it's going to be like sort of 3-1. I think Aston Villa will get a goal from someone like Daniel Marlon or something like that, but Arsenal will get the win. I just see it. I know that Aston Villa are on a great winning streak, but that last match would have been a bit concerning. Bournemouth versus Chelsea, both of them surprisingly lost, but I trust Bournemouth more. Chelsea's defence is concerning, and their attack doesn't seem that joined up either. Caicedo might still be a decent shout. He's just come back from suspension, I believe. Or maybe not, I don't know. But I do see Bournemouth getting a win here. Like 1-0. They've been good defensively, so 1-0 I think is fair. And a little bit concerning for Chelsea, considering they were almost in a title fight a couple of weeks ago. Everton versus Nottingham Forest next. Both of them have been on like sort of comebacks that have sort of been working, sort of not. I'm going to give this one a draw. I think 1-1 potentially. Like a Grealish assist. Don't know who's going to score for Everton. Nottingham Forest. Jesus could easily score the goal. So yeah, 1-1 Everton Nottingham Forest in 3 p.m. We'll obviously be watching that and seeing how we get on. Manchester City versus Sunderland. I think this is going to be another banger. 3-2. And I can't tell who 3-2 is going to be going to. But again, this is one of those ones that have attackers for these. Newcastle versus Burnley. Newcastle look decent, even though they drew and lost a couple of points against Tottenham Hotspur. Burnley are a defensive unit, so I think we're going to go boring here. I think 0-0. I think there's a chance to be a 0-0 and could be nicked either way. Whether that be from Volsamada from Newcastle, whether that be from Zian Fleming, I think it is, for Burnley. Something to keep an eye out for there. Tottenham Hotspur versus Brentford. This is Thomas Frank against his old club. Brentford certainly seem organised. Tottenham, I don't know what is going on right now, but it almost feels like the wheels have fallen off, and I don't know why. I'm giving this to Brentford. Igor Thiago, I think he'll get a winner. I think this will be like a 1-0, 2-1 to Brentford. I don't know why. I just get that feeling it's going to be a win for Brentford. Then we got Leeds versus Liverpool. And if you'd have asked me about this one a couple of weeks ago, I'd have been Liverpool have got a chance to get a win here. Leeds have been good. The one thing that holds Leeds back is injuries. That's the only reason why I'm going to edge this one to Liverpool. I'm going to give this like a 2-0, I think. But that is literally just down to the fact of Leeds having injuries. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who performed so well against Chelsea, he's injured. There's a couple of others. I think, is it Nmecha is also injured. So a little bit concerning for Leeds, but like they've been good. Daniel Farke, he can't lose his job after this week. He has been brilliant. I really do think so. So, yeah, Liverpool might get the win, but I don't think Leeds will disgrace themselves. I think they'll be well organised, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens from that evening match. Then we go on to Sunday. We have Brighton Hove Albion versus West Ham United. Team that conceded a few versus a defensive performance. I think this is a boring one. I think there's going to be one goal in it, and I think it's going to be like a 1-0. Again, I can't call who it's for. Brighton Hove Albion got the chance of getting a 1-0 through like someone like Danny Welbeck, but West Ham United through Jared Bowen, through is it Misaka, I think his name is, got a chance. Fulham Crystal Palace is quite similar as well. I mean, it is Fulham with their attacking intent, but Crystal Palace with their defensive instincts. What is it? Unstoppable force, immovable objects. I think Crystal Palace will edge it. They haven't been great this past week, but I think they'll edge it. I think it'll be a 1-0 Crystal Palace. I do think they've got that chance of doing it. And then I think there's one on Sunday. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Manchester United. The team that's been looking better but not getting points, and the team that is starting to perform not that great, and it's 8 p.m. on a Monday. Do I think that Wolverhampton Wanderers could get a point here? I would love to say yes, but no. I think there's going to be a Bruno Fernandes performance. If anything I've seen from Manchester United is when they have a bad result, they follow it up with a good result right now. So I feel like there's going to be like a fire that's lit up under their backsides, and they'll get a win. They'll struggle over the line. They'll just about get the win, you know? I think that's going to be how it is. So, how does that affect the teams that we are going to be picking? So, let's have a look. We'll start off just by looking at the pick team situation. We've still got those 2 injuries. Unknown return date. And I need to mention this. I've completely forgotten about this. This is the time to start looking at your African players in your Fantasy Premier League. Why am I saying that? We have, in January, the Africa Cup of Nations. There are, I think it's 24, 32 African nations competing in it. And so for a lot of January, there'll be African players that won't be playing. Ismail Assar playing for Senegal. If Senegal gets to the final, that's 5 weeks. He is out. You have to interest that. But this is where it gets a bit of a twist, right? Because he has an ankle injury. Will he be called up? So that's interesting. Now, I think his ankle injury, he might recover enough by the end of the year, and I think he will be called up. But that is worth bearing in mind. Now, Gabriel, we've still got an unknown return date on the thigh injury, so we do need to look at transfers in and out. And I think Gabriel is the one to take out just in terms of the money aspect. And that's a player we're going to have a look into. So we're going to take out Gabriel. Let's get ourselves 7 million. I think. Then who do we bring in? I have no idea. Because we also have other players that potentially could be on that. So, who do we have? So we've got the teams here. Defensive performances. So I said Burnley. I said Crystal Palace potentially, although that feels risky potentially because of the unstoppable force immovable object thing. Who else is there for Arsenal? Got Julian Timber. Let's have a look. Sort of average, performing average. Chalobah. He's been sort of all right apart from the result against Leeds. That might not be great in the future matches. Calafiori, he got a goal. He does have 4 yellow cards. That's the concern on that one. Bournemouth could be a shout again, although I've already got a Bournemouth defender, and that could be a risk to have another Bournemouth player in there. Gahey done okay. He does have Man City to have to deal with. That could be a challenge. That could be a problem, in fact. But do we do it? Do we bring in Gahey or Munoz? I'm going to bring in Munoz. Reason being, if there ends up being attacking opportunities, I think he will be a good shout. So we will bring him in instead of Gabriel. Now, how are we going to line this up? I think Wirtz comes in. He's been performing better, so I'm happy with that. Wilson, I think we'll bring in instead of Gusto. And Munoz instead of Pedro Porro or Bowen. Pedro Porro. And this is worth bearing in mind. All managers in Fantasy Premier League will be given extra free transfers in game week 16. So we are now getting close to AFCON territory. Next week, we will have the opportunity to make multiple transfers in line of the international call-up. So it's worth bearing in mind. Now, for us, we might not have to worry about it too much. We've only got one African player in our squad. But should we need it, we have it. Now, would I put in Sells against Everton? Would I put in Kelleher against Tottenham? Oof. I'm going to put in Sells versus Everton. The reason being, Everton have been getting 1-0s. Tottenham's still been scoring multiple goals. So I'm going to do that. So, to round it all off, I'm going to switch out Pedro Porro for Sarr as well. So, to round it all off, we are going to be hoping that Sells gets a clean sheet against Everton. That is our plan. For Bournemouth versus Chelsea, we are hoping that Bournemouth gets a really good defensive performance, maybe even Truffert gets an assist or a goal. That's our plan. We are aiming for a Bournemouth win. Now, as much as I said that Fulham probably could edge it, I am hoping that Munoz at least gets some assists, get some goals against Fulham, get some good defensive contributions as well. And the same sort of true with Matty Cash, although no, actually thinking about it, I'm switching out him for Pedro Porro. We're going to be hoping that Pedro Porro does all right, and that will cover us off for any problems there. We're also going to be hoping that if Munoz doesn't do well, that Wilson does, and then he will get some points. He's been had a couple of weeks, really good weeks, in fact. So we're going to be putting some trust in Wilson. We got Reinders and Haaland getting some points against Sunderland, but just in case Man City become leaky, we got Isidore also that could get some points. We're hoping that Bowen gets an attacking contribution, whether that be an assist or a goal against Brighton Hove Albion. Don't have to win, but just gets some goals and that. And then Wirtz, we're hoping that he continues this better performances against Leeds, see what he gets out of that. And Saka, given his performances, hoping he gets a goal as well. That is what we're going to be having for our team. That's our plan. And that is the matches that are starting tomorrow. So, best of luck to everybody. These are my picks. I'd love to know your picks. I'd love to know your hot tips. And until next time, guys, take care.